That's good. It's Let's Go with Lisa and Lauri, and we're here to talk about our week in review and what's going on next week. Lisa, what's going on?
Oh my goodness, Lori, so much is going on. I don't know if I told you last time or not, but we are getting ready to get started with the US Open here in Tacoma, Washington.
Wow, that's really cool. So tell us, what are the plans? What's going on? Give us the scoop.
Parties and attending galore. On Monday, I'm heading out to watch some practice rounds, and I'm looking forward to finding some pros to interview, and I'm just gonna go up and see who's there. And then on Tuesday night, I've been invited to an event where the designer of the course, Robert Trent Jones Jr., is going to be there, and I'll get to interview him.
Wow, that's really cool. How did you snag that?
Oh, I've got my ways. Networking, it's all about networking. So it's really fun. And just contacting people and letting them know what I'm doing. And then I got the invitation. So pretty exciting.
That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about networking. I know that you talk about social media and how social media is working for you. Give us a little bit more of an update on what's going on with social media.
Well, social media, as you know, is one of my platforms of getting everyone connected and building multicultural communities. And so it's just really excited to see how through talking about what you're interested in on social media, talking about the events that you're interested in working for really gets the attention of the right people. And before you know it, they're contacting you on social media and inviting you to events. There are a lot of different ways to connect with people, so finding out what works best for your business, your industry, or your product is really important, but it is a really great way to connect with people, very cost effective, and of course as you grow, sometimes you have to pass the task off onto someone else, but so long as you enjoy doing it and you get to keep doing it, do it as long as you can. I love it. I don't foresee handing over my social media to anybody.
You're not handing over the reins, huh?
No.
My thing with social media is not doing it. It's not doing it. You know what I mean? It's like it's like the social media vacuum. You know what I mean? You start, you're like, okay, I'm going to spend a few minutes on this. And then before you know it, it's, half an hour has gone by. You're like, I'm going to tear myself away. Then you're like, oh, I forgot to do this update. I forgot to do this. I forgot to do that. And pretty soon, before you know it, it can be like a huge vacuum of time. So
it absolutely can. I wanted to say thank you, Laura, for saying that, because one of the important things is to make time and make sure, set a little timer. No, if you only intend to spend an hour, spend an hour. I go down the rabbit hole. I see one thing I'm interested in, then I see another thing I'm interested in, and then 3 hours later it goes by. So it is important to keep track of your time because it can be a time waster. But when you get those connections and you get invited to parties where Robert Trent Jones Jr. is going to be, you want to be at that party.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm really happy. I know that you've been following him and you've met him and you've been talking to him. So this is really, really a great opportunity. I'm so excited. So question, how are we going to follow up with the people that we met in Mexico?
Well, we have some great ideas, and this is where building communities and building networks really works out. You have a lot of information as a brander and marketing genius that you are for them. They responded really well. We're starting to get emails and inquiries, so we do have to make a plan. We could easily jump back into our lives here and let go of those opportunities, but we're building time, taking time to sit down and actually make a plan of action. And one of the things that we had talked about was creating a webinar in order to sort of bring that community that we met and connected with while we were down there and bring them in sort of into the circle to see how else we get to play together and work together. What do you think about that?
Idea. I love that idea. I think it's great. So we're going to set up a webinar. We're going to invite them. I'm going to get them onto our AWeber list. So we have them, and then we're going to start the drip marketing and be able to send them. The other thing is we have all these phenomenal videos that are in the process of being edited. So we'll also be able to market through those videos and pull them in from that. So that's really good. Yeah, it was really great meeting them. And I love the idea of really getting them more engaged in social media, because I know they have their pages and every once in a while they'll update something, but I think it needs to be a little bit more strategic.
Absolutely. And using it again with their branding, their colors, and just really infusing. These are such passionate people about what they're doing. The wine industry is filled with people who aren't just making wine as a business model. They're really making wine because they love the product, they love working with the earth, and they want to introduce it to the Mexican market, because there's not a really huge, or hasn't been up until now, a wine market in Mexico. So it's really exciting to see them emerge. And like you said, help them out with the social media, because they don't know. And as entrepreneurs, we know that it's challenging to wear all of the hats that we have to wear. And so showing them how fun social media can be and how quickly and easily they can connect with people who are already interested in the market, and through word of mouth can help them get their products out there. I think it's going to be really fun to go teach them those strategies.
Oh, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. So anyway, the other question I had for you is, I saw your videos from the Golf Diva down in Mexico, that you were actually at. Where were you in Mexico?
In
I know
Guadalajara.
Guadalajara.
And yeah, it was in Guadalajara, and it was the Tecate Golf Tournament. And they've been doing it for 12 years. I had no idea. So it's been really fun to connect with them, and a new opportunity arose there, absolutely through social media. I was invited via Twitter to go see them, and they want to do some more work together. So that's really exciting. I would not have found them had it not been for social media.
So you're new on interviewing on camera. You're new at that, but you did
Totally.
such a great job. So why don't you give the viewers just maybe 3 tips that you are using as a new interviewer to get those great interviews that you've gotten?
Really showing interest in what they do, having a little bit of knowledge of the game. Not only my own knowledge, but my husband was with me and he knows quite a lot about golf, so it was really helpful. He gave me some questions that would be useful. But the questions that I always end up connecting with and want to find out is more about the players or whatever it is, and the winemakers. What is their story? How did they get where they are? How did they get interested? Who were their mentors? Did they just decide to pick it up? Because I always think, if they can do it, then there's a way to do it. And so maybe my way of connecting them is, well, I want to connect you with other people who are out there who are interested in maybe doing it as well, and just don't even know where to get started. So the more I relax and just get into that part of my personality, it goes really well, because I like to be funny. I like to listen to what people have to say and just really hear them share their story and help them get their story out.
Okay, so you just gave us 3 great tips. Know something about your topic. Maybe tap into experts who know more about the topic than you do, so you can get more information. And the other thing is, get to the story. So you're looking for the human interest aspect of when you're doing your interview.
Exactly. And Laura, you're really good at this too. What do you find? I would love to hear more about when you interview people, and you shared something with me at Morelia en Boca about going deeper. Would you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, thank you, Lisa, for the compliment. But what I try to do is really be an advocate for the viewer or the listener. And what are the kind of questions that they might be asking that are different than maybe the normal things that we hear? So when I go into an interview, I try to think about the question that hasn't been asked. So even Jack Canfield, who's been interviewed, I don't know how many zillion times, he said, nobody's ever asked me that question. And I was like, really? So it's really about asking the question that hasn't been asked yet. And a lot of people tend to focus on the tried and true, and they have a formula. See, I don't work from a formula. So I try to go with what they're saying. So it's much more spontaneous and it looks more real. And you can dig deeper when you do that than if you just work with, because the person who's being interviewed often will give you a list of 10 questions and their answers. And a lot of interviewers just go, okay, well, question one is here, question two is there. It's the same interview that they've done thousands of times. So you get the same exact answers. You don't dig in and get that real person. So that's what I saw you doing when I looked at the raw footage. It hasn't been edited yet, but the raw footage. And I was like, look at that. Those are great questions. And the person you're interviewing was so engaged. They were like, it was fun.
I was really surprised at how engaged everyone was. They were so excited to tell their story and how they got involved in golf. And one of them, I was very surprised, came from a professional family of golfers. So as he said, it was in his, line or his bloodline already. But then there was someone else who, this was his very first pro golf tournament, and it was so neat to see how humble he was, and he was really engaged too. So it was really neat to get to talk to them and get to meet them and know more about them.
Well, there was a guy that you were interviewing and he looked so scared. He looked so scared. He was like, he looked like he was in the firing line. But when you asked him the question about like what his faux pas was, if you could think of one, or what mistake he had made, he started laughing. And really, that whole facade and that whole, fright and the way he looked so terrified just evaporated, and he was able to be one-on-one with you. And it was great. He had a big smile. He was chuckling. It was wonderful. So you did an amazing job.
Thank you. And this is one of my goals in teaching not just people about social media and networking and building communities, but really connecting, because that's going to be the difference moving forward for businesses. We're really going away from the ultra polished, perfect. I mean, there's definitely mastery and skill building. And I guess that's even why I feel safe putting myself out there, not knowing how to interview and just going up and saying, okay, I'm going to figure this out. One, I got to observe you, but two, we want the unpolished. We want to know that it's possible. We enjoy watching people go through the journey of beginning to mastery. So I want people to know that that connects you the most with another person, because they see the sincerity in it. They see the value then, not only in your product, but in doing business with you, because at all times as entrepreneurs, we're representing our brand, but it doesn't mean that we always have to be speaking about our business or our products. We represent it just by being ourselves, and by being the best selves that we can be, then that speaks volumes. So,
what I think really happened is now people are interested in doing business with the whole person. So it's really about being vulnerable, being real. I think what happened was we were always looking for that very polished, very put together, but then we had so many scandals, a lot in the financial services, where these people who are very polished, very put together, very, they had this great facade of being so honest and so reputable, and it totally crumbled when they were discovered. Denny Hacker, Pedersen, Mike Milken. I mean, we can go on and on and on. And these scandals really made people say, you know what? If these people have everything so together, maybe they're hiding something. Maybe it's not true. Maybe. So now they want to have people that they feel comfortable with and real with. And when you have that, then you have those real relationships and people you can trust. So that's what I think happened there.
Yeah, I would completely agree with you. And I think that it's important to take note of it. And therefore, if you're going to be more real, how do you come across? Being aware of when you interact with others, what message are you giving both in how you look and how you socialize with them and how you interact. So it's all really important. Like you said, you're doing business with the whole person. So very exciting.
Absolutely.
Now I have a question for you. You went and did something really spectacular last night. This tell me what it's called, Northern Sparks
Northern
event.
Sparks, Minnesota. Yeah.
That just sounds fascinating to me. Artistic, fun. Tell us about it.
Well, it's a little bit hard to explain if you've never experienced it. But what this is, it's an event that starts usually at 9:26 p.m. and goes through 5:26 a.m. And a lot of the galleries and the museums, and there's art in the park, and it's just, these places are open, and they have special exhibitions. They have crafts. Like, I did this little screen printing project last night. So they taught us about screen printing. That was really cool. Yeah, it was really cool. There were a lot of little things that we could do. And also, they had this really cool thing at MCAD, the Minnesota Institute of Art. They have a College of Art and Design, and they're always open. And those kids are so creative. I just can't believe some of the things that they come up with. And you know how a chain link fence is normally horizontal to, keep people in or people out, whatever. But what they did was they had this length of chain link fence, and instead of it being horizontal, they made it vertical over this form, and it became almost like a walkway you could walk under, right? But what they did is they went further. They had these red strips about this long and about this wide, red strips of fabric and magic marker. And what you could do is you could write anything you wanted on the strip, and you could hang it, attach it to the chain link fence. And it was their version of a prayer wall.
Oh, that sounds beautiful.
It was beautiful. And it was windy, as it usually is in Minneapolis. And you saw all these red, you couldn't see the chain link fence, but you could see all these red flags, all right, just flickering and moving. It was so adorable. So, my nephew recently had a terrible, terrible accident, and the prognosis has been that he only has a 10% chance of ever walking again. So he's 23 years old. This is the thing, Lisa. Life is so precious. We kind of take it for granted in our daily life of, going to work and doing the shopping and feeding the dogs and taking care of the house. We don't really think about the preciousness of it and how important it is to live each day and to really take in the excitement, the flair, the sense, use our senses and see and hear and just live each day so intimately with life. It's just so precious. So I wrote, his name, and that first I wrote that he was good as new. But then I said to myself, no, better. He's going to be better than new. So I wrote that, and I took pictures of it, and I hung that, and I was really excited about doing that because I felt like it was something that married him, the South that he lives in, with Minneapolis and this vibrant art community. But not only that, with age-old prayer. Like in Israel, they have the prayer wall, and they put the little papers and they shove them in it was like the Minneapolis version of the prayer wall. And I just felt it connected now, the future, a situation, and the past so seamlessly. And that prayer wall is going to be part of an upcoming exhibition. So how cool is that, right?
That is really cool. And I wanted to say, I'm so sorry about your nephew. it's moments like that that really help us get very clear about how short and fragile life can be. I know that with your help and your positive energy, and I know that you've overcome some physical trauma to be healthier and more vibrant than ever. I don't know anyone as vibrant as you. So I think that will be really helpful to him. But for those of us who just get to witness it, it is really important to realize that every day you wake up, if you're not happy or if you want to do something different, figure it out. It's not always easy. Sometimes you're beating your head against the wall trying to figure out how to resolve a problem, or a project doesn't come to fruition the way that you want it to, but you have to keep trying. I mean, I went out and had some fun last night with my friends, and I was up at 5:30 this morning. Why? Because what I'm doing lights me on fire right now. I can hardly wait to hop out of bed. And I didn't consider myself a morning person before, but now just that drive, because I know I'm, coming to the older years in my life, and I just want to live this life as fully as possible, which means engaging with people, doing business that makes me happy, working at work that makes me happy, connecting with people, learning. I have an insatiable desire to know everything about everybody. So use that, to grow and to really just take life by the horns and figure it out for yourself, because our time here is very short.
So do you know Forrest Willett?
I do.
Okay,
Yes.
you know Forrest's story where he had that terrible, terrible car accident.
Yes.
And he wasn't expected to live. And then he spent years in bed. They said he couldn't speak, he couldn't move, he couldn't do anything. I mean, he had a terrible, terrible existence. And he got Jack's book. He saw Jack on TV, and he was telling his wife, with like, I think he had a finger that he used to use to type. And he was telling his wife, I want that book, I want that book. And the doctors were saying, no, 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 he's never going to be able to read. I mean, the prognosis was terrible. And fast forward, he got the book. He really believed that he could do it. And now he's a professional speaker. He won the Oprah contest for his book. I mean, he's doing amazing things. And he said his life is better than it was before. So my nephew's story is he won a full scholarship to college.
Wow.
And full ride. He's brilliant. But one thing after, I really can't get into what happened, but they turned the scholarship down. And he went to work. Yeah, he went to work in the supermarket as a stock guy. This is a few years ago. Now he's the store manager, all right, at Food Lion. So I've always felt that because he was, strong and active and whatever, he ended up taking that job and paying more attention to physical than to mental. So now, if his body maybe he won't have the same mobility. Maybe now he's going to be working on his mind. So I feel like in a way this could have been a message that's saying you got to work on your mind. You can't always depend on your physical. You have to work on the mental. So I'm sending him books, and they now have this caring bridge and things like that for him. But I think that the message here is we need to live fully. Yes, we're young. Yeah, well, some of us young and strong and dynamic, and we can do these physical things, but we can't let our mind not be engaged. We can't let our mind, not be active. So this may have been like the thump on the head that he needed. I don't know. We're going to, time will tell. But it's because of Forrest's story and watching Forrest's video and knowing Forrest. And yeah, you can tell every once in a while that Forrest, like with me, you can tell every once in a while that I skip something. But it's really about still continuing and doing the best you can and believing in yourself. And that, I think, is, are you going to take someone else's diagnosis, someone else's, what they look at and they see and they say, well, you're never going to be the same. Like they told me, oh, your brain is damaged. You're never going to be the same. And I was like, for the whole weekend, I cried. I'm never going to be the same. But I learned coping skills. So I write everything down. That's the only way I can do anything. I have to write everything down. So
I have a question for you. What was the turning point? So at what point did you decide, I'm never going to be the same, to screw that, I'm going to be even better? What was that determining factor for you?
I don't have a safety net. I didn't have a safety net. I had just bought a new house. I had a really high mortgage. I'd been making a lot of money. And I just said to myself, I can't not be successful. So I have to learn coping skills. And I think that we're all using these coping skills, these mechanisms that we have to run our lives. It's just that I think the negative is when we take other people's idea, other people's impression, other people's prognosis or diagnosis of us. I think our own diagnosis of ourselves is more important. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I really appreciate that, because then what everyone's job or challenge is to do anything, whether it be overcoming tragic situation, or even just getting out of the slumber of being bored and settling for a boring job, then the job is to find out what your key is. What is going to turn you and motivate you to surpass these things? For you, there was no other option. Failure was not an option. And so once you determine that failure is not an option, then everything becomes possible. And, in the businesses that we see, some are struggling. There's a lot to do. There's a lot of avenues to take. There's a lot of choices, and it can become overwhelming. And one of the things that you really taught me that I really value, and I encourage every entrepreneur to do, even if they've already established their brand and their marketing, is to really look at their message and align it. You always have to. Life changes very quickly. New products are coming. We have to stay very relevant. And so how are we going to make that choice? And how are we going to brand and market ourselves in order to stay relevant and stay fresh and say failure is not an option? So what is working for me and what isn't working for me? And I'd like to hear, and I know that's shifting it a little bit quickly, because I really want to respect and honor your cousin and what's going with that. But this is shifting into really creating that change, whether it be in your life, physically, or in your business, branding and marketing. How do you get the word about yourself out there? What's more important? 3 things. What's most important about getting your brand and your market out there?
First thing is understanding who you're talking to. Who is your market? The more you can dig in and understand your market, the easier it's going to be to speak with them and to use the words that they're comfortable with, to enter the conversation that they're already having in their mind. The next thing I would say is thinking about the emotional message that you're trying to create. So let me just show you. Well, this isn't 100% finished, but here's the brand that we're working on right now. It is Ms. Behaven's Peanut Brittle.
I love it.
Thank you. My sister's been making this for years, and it's a wonderful product. She's been selling it and donating the money to the college that she works at for the students. So she decided, through, of course, a necessity, she was going to sell this peanut brittle. And so now what we have here, and these are the little cards.
Cute.
Aren't they adorable? What we have is a brand that's communicating, and the communication is nostalgic, old-fashioned, interesting, energetic. My mother is the spokesperson for the brand. Nobody's more energetic than she is. At 87, she could still run rings around somebody 20. So when we have that, what happens is people have an emotional attachment to it. So when you put your brand together comprehensively, and I invite everybody to go to Miss Behaven's um, brittle.com, or also the Facebook to check it out. But we're developing this brand. This brand is, it's not even being sold yet. We only started this like a month ago. But look at how it's coming together. And today we're going out and we're putting all of our branding together because we have our first festival on Thursday. And I believe we're having an art opening on Saturday. And we're just moving forward. But the important thing is to think about what you want to portray and convey, and then write your message around that. So those are the three things. So number one, understand your market. We know who our market is for this. Number two, you got to speak emotionally to the market, tap them. And number three, create a message that fortifies your brand and gets your brand out there. But one of the things I wanted to talk about today, because I want to end this, or have this at least a very positive, is thinking about a situation that you might be in, and think about the changes you might want to make to that situation. In my family, what we normally do when we have a situation that we want to change is we start a business. That's what we grew up doing. That's what I saw my mother doing. She would go from business to business, and these businesses were all successful. So my brother is still running a business that my mother started almost 40 years ago.
I have to meet your mother.
Oh, you got to meet my mother. She's a true Rooney. When you come back, I'm gonna bring you. You're not gonna believe it. So my mother is going to be, when we're selling at the different locations, my mother is going to be like, the people handing out samples. She's going to be sitting in a white rocking chair in her polka dot outfit, handing out the samples of the peanut brittle, chatting everybody up, making relationships, just what you're talking about, connecting. And that's the way that you put a brand together. Emotionally, using the resources you have for an audience that they want to think about the past.
Yeah.
People want to tap into the time that they spent with their grandmother.
Absolutely. That is such an exciting way to go. And as you said, it's really important to know who you're talking to, because then it's easy to talk about that. I don't know anyone who doesn't fondly remember a moment with their grandparent or an older loved one that the smell or the food that you ate just instantly brings you back. And so it's good marketing, good strategy for business, but it's really fun too, because brittle is something you know. Doing business is something you know. Not everyone grew up. I also came from parents who started a business every 5 minutes. Some were more successful than others. And I actually turned away from that growing up. I thought, okay, I'm going to go the tried and true method. And here I am in the later years of my life going, no, that was kind of the right idea, starting those businesses, because there's so much joy, especially when you connect and it's emotional and it comes from creativity and innovation. Yes, is it fulfilling a need? Of course it is, but it doesn't mean it can't be creative and innovative and really to be effective. So good job. I'm excited for you.
Well, Lisa, thank you. You're one of the most innovative and creative people I think I've ever met. I spent time with you in Mexico. I just couldn't believe it. It was one thing after the other. But the thing is, your ideas, not only are they brilliant ideas, you follow through with them, which I love. That's amazing. But the other thing is, they're ideas that I haven't seen before. And I get around. I mean, I travel a lot. Speaking of travel, Lisa, where are we going next?
Oh, Lauri, we are going. This week, I am going to be at the U.S. Open, so I'm going to share with you what I'm doing there. But we're making our strategy to go back to Mexico and create those business contacts and that idea into actual dollars and cents for the businesses that we run. So we used our ability to connect. We used our brand. We thought on our feet, because for us initially, especially, it was just a vacation that turned into one of the most potentially profitable events I've ever done. So here we go. We have more streams of income coming in, or potentials of income, and now we need to seal the deal. So now we need to follow the very tried and true method of doing something with our contacts, actually bringing them together, making an offering of what we talked about in our workshop, creating this workshop for them or this webinar for them to really bring it all in together. So that's where I'm going, and the next few weeks I'm going to be traveling and doing. How about you? Where are you going? Did I hear you say something about Guatemala?
Well, we're working on Guatemala right now. We're working on Guatemala, so I think I'll be probably doing a site visit in Guatemala either probably in September or early October for a retreat in January. So that's very exciting. I've never been there, so that's very cool. Oh, the other thing is I may be going to Nepal.
Oh my goodness, do tell.
Yeah, I had a potential client contact me. He's written 6 books, and he needs help marketing his books. And the money that he brings in from his books go to educate children, poor children, in Nepal. So I'm like, well, that's the story just like the story. That's the story that needs to be told.
Exactly.
Of these children that you're supporting and sponsoring for school in Nepal. So he's like, well, instead of coming to Hong Kong, why don't we meet in Nepal? And I'm like, can do. Definitely.
I'm in. Good job. Congratulations.
Well, we'll see how it goes, but I would love to go to Nepal. I would love to go there.
I'll be going to South Carolina in July, and although the thought of going to South Carolina in July to most people drives them crazy, I love the warmth, and I just love the South. It's so amazing. So I will hopefully report to you live from there.
Where are you going in South Carolina?
Columbia, South Carolina is where our training facility is. So it'll be really fun. I was wondering how far away of a drive that would be for you.
Oh, it's like a 20-hour drive. But I'm thinking I may be, probably not in July though, but my son lives only about an hour and a half from there, maybe an hour.
Wow. Yeah. Well, possible. And there's other opportunity. I mean, there's a lot of travel coming up in the next couple of months. So as the details get ferreted out, I will be happy to share with them. It's really, really fun. Mostly they're for my 9 to 5 gig. So it's really fun though, because building my business and my 9 to 5 are really playing well together. And even that's exciting. It makes me do my work there even more joyously, because I'm really feeling very fulfilled at what I do. So I hope everyone gets that opportunity.
That's great. It's fun. So Lisa, the other thing that we were going to be talking about is creativity and innovation. And I think that when I go to these events, like this All Night Art event, which I don't know another one in the country like this. In fact, I've heard last night of people who fly in from other states to come to this event because it's such an exciting event. So when I was looking and watching the things there, I saw all this creativity and innovation. And I thought about why we have such an incredibly creative and vibrant and active art community. I thought about this. And having lived in other parts of the country and other parts of the world, I noticed that Minnesota is much more socialist. It's a much more socialist political system. And people really think outside the box. And sometimes I don't even know if they think that there's a box at all. Like last night when I go to the art event, I'm like, I don't think that they think that there's even a box. So, one person made this art piece of interactive. It was a hot air balloon that they put inside of the MCAD building. I don't know if it had helium. I don't know how they did it, but it was blown up in there, and you went in and there were sofas and There were balloons on the ceiling of the
How
of the ball,
fun.
the balloon up there, and they were flashing at all different frequencies. So people are laying there, they're happy, they're laughing, they're having a great time watching the different colored balloons with the different lights going on. It was so amazing. Then we had a great little photo booth, and we threw papers in the air because they're celebrating the 100th anniversary of the museum. So they had these big birthday cakes, and everybody's decorating the birthday cakes outside. It was so cool. So when we look at this innovation I see is a thread that is going on throughout society. It's a cultural thing here. We have a lot of innovative companies here, 3M, Medtronic, a lot of biomedical. And what I remember was 2008, a lot of the creatives were let go from their positions at these companies. And what they did is they went into their basements, their garage, and they continued tinkering and working on these things. The heart stent was created, and a bunch of biomedical devices were created in people's garages and in extra rooms and things like that. And then they sold them back to the companies that they had worked for millions of dollars. It's not unusual here in Minnesota to be talking to somebody, and they'll, in the course of a conversation, mention that they hold 3 patents or 5 patents. Even average people that you're just having conversations with hold patents. So I thought about it, and I thought, this is evident in all parts of society here, even down to the politics.
Wow.
Yeah. A few years ago, well, quite a few years ago now, they ended up electing Jesse Ventura, about a wrestler,
Yeah.
as governor. And then they were
Wow.
surprised that he wasn't, a lot of people were surprised that he wasn't like this regular, like political, organized, strategic thinker. He was kind of unusual and different and very creative. And I see that it's in every aspect of society. And you have that. You're constantly creating things. So why don't you tell us a little bit about maybe your creative process? Like, how do you see things so creatively and so innovatively, and then you take them like to the next level? How do you do it?
Well, first and foremost, I'm not missing that. That sounds so exciting to me because those are probably my most creative hours. And that's probably why they chose to do it at that hour, because it's so fun. I mean, half of my ideas come to me, I kid you not, at 3:15 in the morning. That is when I can resolve the entire world's problems. So if you, Lori, need me, give me a call at 3:15 a.m. I will be there. The creative process is really important for all of us, and working in the type of industry that I work in, where there's a lot of analytical and introverted people who are very, very dedicated at doing what they do, I'm definitely the odd man out because I'm super creative and I have all of these ideas. And so for my process, it's sifting between which are just fun ideas and I can shuffle them away and say, okay, that was a really fun idea to think about for a few minutes, but it's not one that I'm going to pursue, to what am I really going to pursue? And of course it comes down to, and I didn't know this until just recently in meeting up with you and working with Jack Canfield to really find out what I'm here, what my purpose is here in life. And so the interesting part of it is that I'm now through the process of the success principles and the marketing, now that I see eyes through a marketing perspective of who I'm trying to reach, what I'm trying to connect, is how am I going to solve a problem? And I just in my head thought, oh, I don't like how that's done, so let me figure out a better way of doing that, because it has to be creative, it has to be fun, it has to be colorful, it has to be very aesthetically pleasing to me. Doesn't mean it has to be pleasing to anybody else, but if it's pleasing to me. And so then those are really great ideas. So then you shift those ideas out and say, who do I know that I think this is a good idea, and this one, I think that one has maybe potential and value for business. So let me talk to an expert so I can see, is this just a whimsical idea, or does it have the ability to really have legs and take flight? So then you start asking experts. When you don't know the answer to something, find first someone that you trust that has perhaps a more analytical mind than you do, pass it by them, and then when you really get a hold of a good idea, then talk to a branding marketing person who can help that idea take flight. Because it's really important to have the whole process together. I'm only as far as I am now because I aligned myself with the right people and got help when I needed it. And I've saved more money by spending money on people who really knew how to help me take those ideas to physical place, from the ideas, whimsical ideas in my head, to a very physical place. And now they're making money for me. So, but it's a fun process. Do whatever you love. I schedule time into my schedule for creative time. I mean, I get so many ideas that sometimes I have to shut them out because I'm actually trying to do other work. But make time for yourself. If you have let go of that creative side of yourself, engage. It is so freeing to not have a box. That might terrify some. I love that idea because I live in a box all day long and I don't want a box. I want to go be creative. So creativity really is where these ingenious solutions can come up for the very serious things that are facing us. I mean, we have ecological issues that we have to solve, better ways of doing business so as to lessen the impact on our ecology, and really helping more people come to the ability to not have to rely on a 9-to-5 job to sustain themselves, so that they can pursue their passions and their dreams and spend time with the people that are important to them. So in order to do this, we really have to be innovative and creative and take some time to do something a little wacky. I find myself doing it all the time. So that's my process.
So is there something, or maybe a few things, that you notice really stimulate your creativity?
Oh, that is a very powerful question. I find it everywhere. And that's one of the things. It's so fun to say, oh, that sounds like a great event. Well, let me put my creativity on hold until that wonderful event. Well, that's not the case. All around us, I'm stimulated by everything. A black car could be driving by and I'd be like, oh my God, I just got a brand new idea. So for those of us who it's easy, you'll find it everywhere, but it is everywhere. So if you're a little bit challenged with that creativity side, look for it. We have a great company here in Tacoma, and it is funded by an arts center that we have. They created, it's called Tinkertopia, and you can go into that store and it's better than a craft store. There are so many things, and they actually have workspace. I have a small home, it's beautiful, but of course I don't always have the time or space to leave stuff lying around. So I love going to this Tinkertopia because I can work there with all of the tools and the glue and the paper and everything I need to get a creative idea out from beginning to end. So I go for 3 hours and I create a little project, and it's so much fun. So look around, look in your vicinity, look in your area. There are a lot of free events. Most of them are community driven. Their whole goal is to bring the community together. So you get connection, you get networking, you find out about other cultures. It's very inclusive, and it gets your juices flowing. And the more innovative and creative you are and start practicing that, the more you want to do it. And then before you know it, you're resolving a problem that you didn't know had a solution. I have one example at work. One day I was trying to resolve a problem at work and I just couldn't get my mind around it. And so I ended up doing an art project at work. I did a little collage, and it was fascinating because someone walked in my office and they said, "What are you doing? You're doing art at work?" And I said, "Actually, I'm trying to resolve a problem. I'm working on the problem, but I need to not focus on the problem at the moment. I need to just kind of get my creative side out and going." And so it was very, very interesting that I actually did it in front of work people, and the end result was, as soon as I was done with the project, I came up for a solution with a problem that I was actually hoping to resolve. So it's very effective.
Well, it is effective. And what I noticed for myself is if I go to a mall, because of the colors and all the stimulation, it's not to shop. It's just the stimulation that stimulates my brain to go into overdrive, and I become more creative. Another thing is driving in the car. I think it's the colors going past me so fast stimulates my creativity. Another thing, and you saw this, Lisa, the fabric store. The fabric store, you almost had to have a hook to drag me out of that. I would still be in that fabric store in Mexico. And then we left, we took Bob home, and then we went right back. And we went from one fabric store to the other. And it was like, you could see the wheels turning in my mind. So fabric stores really, really work for me. I think that it's the colors again. I think I'm visually stimulated by colors. And I think if people would realize what it is that stimulates or drives that creativity, and then they can manufacture it. They could go, oh, I have this thing that I'm trying to deal with. I need a solution. Let me go to the mall, or let me go for a drive, or another thing that works for me is bike riding. So I think it's really about those colors going past. So this is what I do is when I have a challenge or something I'm trying to solve or a creative idea, I'll just go and let myself be free. I'll get up and I'll just let myself be free, go, and before you know it, it's like idea after idea after idea comes. And it's just like, there it is, boom. Not only do I not have one idea, I have many ideas to solve this. So I think that's something that we really need to be aware of, is what stimulates our creativity, what makes us innovative.
And another thing to add to that, those are great. You in a fabric store, by the way, are hilarious. I thought I was bad in a fabric store. I thought I was never going to get you out of that fabric store. We must have hit 20 fabric stores, but it is fun. It's a fun place, and we think of those things. So my suggestion for people who aren't as comfortable or don't know where, go where you feel. So maybe you feel more comfortable, and I'll give you an example of this. Once we left you, we went back to Guadalajara in Mexico, and there was a coffee shop, and it had all of those elements. It had color, it had great space, it had great lighting, and all of a sudden I just felt home. And so I was able to take all of the bumbling ideas from all of the activity and stuff that we had been doing that had made, and just, it was a great spot. So in this instance, it was a quiet spot, but it was still colorful, and it still made me feel creative, and I was engaged in the community. I wasn't holed up at home. So look for that feeling as well. It might be just where you feel comfortable, but where you think, oh, I wish my home looked like this, or this is really a place that I could sit for hours and not even worry about it. And you'd be surprised at who shows up to talk to you, what ideas come to you. And it is a really important part about resolving problems and really coming up with the new pressing ideas that will take us into the future. So brilliantly said, and a very important part. We'll have to do a show specifically on some creative things that we do. I like that idea.
Oh, me
some
too.
tasks, maybe. Yeah.
Me too. That's a good one. That's a good one. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to challenge the viewer to do something creative, to do something exciting, to do something innovative, to get out there and to do something that is going to take them kind of outside of their, maybe a little bit outside their comfort zone, maybe just to do something a little bit differently.
One of the things that shocked my husband when he met me, and I think it still shocks him now, is I can go anywhere and just sit there by myself. And he's like, "You're gonna go out to lunch by yourself?" Sometimes it's my favorite thing to do. And maybe people might not be quite comfortable to do that, but go do something just a little outside of your comfort zone. Push yourself as far as you can push. Make sure you're safe, make sure you're all of those things, but just get out there and see, because that will lead you to doing more things that are creative, that will give you more ideas to find out what your passions and goals and how to get your business moving forward, or how to get your health better on track. You know, we just need those little breaks from the activities that we do of our daily routine. Our routine is a killer of ideas. It is the enacting portion that is very necessary, but it's not where we come up with ideas. So take the time to go find some ideas.
Yeah, take the time to go find ideas, because those ideas could be your future. And the other thing that we were going to talk about today is risks. And I think that, well, I know that people are afraid to take risks. They're afraid, Lisa. We're not, but they are. They're afraid to take risks. And the people that take the biggest risks get the best reward. Donald Trump talks a lot about that. He's like, if you're going to do something, don't do something small, do something big, because the reward is better and the risk is pretty much the same. So one of the things I was thinking about is people are afraid to take risks a lot of times because I think that they don't realize that the risk is a calculated risk, that they haven't maybe done the research, maybe talked to experts, a lot of the things that we're talking about with interviewing, looked at it in a new and different way. You know, they're not really they're not really at the place where they're preparing to take the risk. I think that there's a real difference between the calculated risk and just the whatever, the crazy risk. I think what we really need to do is to look at what is a smart risk, and then think about how we can position to take a risk that is, it's a risk that there's a value to.
Right.
Even if this particular risk doesn't work, we've still learned a lot, we've grown a lot, and we haven't, bet the farm on it.
I actually have something really interesting to say about this, because until I met Jack Canfield and participated in his training program and used the success principles, I had really reached a point. There is not a business idea that I thought was solid that I didn't try. And yet I had failed. I failed at the businesses, or sometimes my interest waned. And I was really getting frustrated because I thought, I know these are brilliant ideas. I know that they have the opportunity to succeed, but I just wasn't really getting successful at them. So I did have to find a different way. So if you've taken risks, find a different way to take a risk. Like you said, a calculated risk is really important, and that is one of the main differences of then and now. And then talking to experts. And again, we're all scared of talking to experts because we know experts cost money. But in the end, and everything has an evolution. So you can take it as slowly up that ladder as you want, or you can take it as quickly. And the more preparation and work you do at the beginning, the quicker it'll go when it's set to go. And so the best investments I've ever made is investing in myself and nurturing the, what do you call it? When you believe in yourself, you have to believe in yourself, because if you're expecting someone else to tell you how fabulous you are or how fabulous your idea is, it's not going to happen. In fact, most people, because of that fear that you're talking about, are going to tell you, oh my goodness, why would you try that? Don't you know that most businesses fail? And it's like, okay, so what are you going to do? So if you have to internally make yourself feel that comfortable, and then go with the experts who will tell you some sound ideas, and from there your business takes off. So,
well, darling, that was great advice. That's wonderful. We are out of time. What are we going to do?
We can talk.
I know, we can just keep going and going. So thank you so much for tuning in. Lisa, as always, love doing the show with you. You're phenomenal.
You're amazing, Lauri. This is so much fun. So stay tuned. Check in with Lisa and Lauri on the go, because we're going to have some exciting things coming up.
All right, take care. Bye-bye now.
Bye.